One of the biggest criticisms about the Cosby Show from white people and black people was that black people don't live like that. My self-imposed boundary, being black is in.
This beautiful melanin goddess that's before me. Hello.
Coming up on Another Act, I talk with Malcolm-Jamal Warner about his Cosby Kids roots and why he is committed to portraying high-achieving black male figures in every character he brings to life.
You know, Malcolm, so many of the characters that you've selected over the course of your career have felt very intentional. High-achieving black men, like you almost have this desire and need to put out this particular image in the world. Is that intentional?
Very much so. Yeah, like, I mean, of course it goes back to my experience on Cosby and with Cosby, but also, I also have to take it back to my father, who named me after Malcolm X and Ahmad Jamal. And it wasn't until I was about 15 that I understood what he did. And I remember calling him saying, wow, dude, you set me up. You know, it's like, you can't be named after those two men and not be about something. Yeah. And then my experience, on Cosby, and just, being on such a groundbreaking show that, that just really expanded white America, black America, and really the global view on, who we are as black people. I've just always been very intent on, one, not doing work that is going to perpetuate negative stereotypes of who we are. But I also don't work as much as, I could, because there's just a lot of work that I just will not do. But also understanding that everyone does not necessarily have the wherewithal to be saying no to stuff.
Yeah. This conversation that we still are having about representation, it has to involve you, especially when I think about kids growing up in the 80s, and that we're still talking about it now feels like something. What does it say to you that after all of your years of being in this industry, we still are talking about the need and desire to have these more diverse representations of Black people, people of color, and Black men in particular?
Yes, we've come a long way, but there's still ways to go. And just in our lifetimes, we've seen the cycle of there's a period of time where being Black is in. Everything about being Black is really cool, and then that cycle goes out.
No, it does. It does. I was talking with Alfonso Ribeiro recently, and I was telling him how, I've been with him since Silver Spoons, and how important that was and how important I recognized that as a kid. And he was like, and I was asking him at what point he realized how significant, the work was that he was doing as a child. When was that moment for you? When did you realize the importance and the significance of roles like that? Were you still a kid, or did it come later in life for you?
No, it was early on. Because if you remember, one of the biggest criticisms about the Cosby Show from white people and black people was that black people don't live like that. So while we're getting that criticism, I'm getting fan letters by the thousands from people saying, thank you for this show. My dad is a doctor. My mom is a lawyer. We are the Huxtables, right?
Yes.
So very early on, I got the significance of, oh, wow, we are expanding everyone's perspective. Again, globally, white America, Black America, we're expanding the perspective of who we are as Black people. So I was pretty aware of the responsibility of that show very early on, because that wasn't just like the number one show in the country, that was the number one show in the world. And this is before social media. There was a certain responsibility that I felt when I walked through the world. Like, I wasn't just representing my mother and my father, Mr. Cosby, but I was representing that show and representing a culture. So that's, one of the things that kind of kept me, within my self-imposed boundaries of, we didn't use the term back then, but my self-imposed boundaries of how turned up I was going to get with this celebrity thing.
Right. Right. I kind of love that. And obviously those early experiences and is how they're how we land here now with The Resident. Why was this the right role for you? Why was this the right show for you?
So when I first started on the show, I was only cast to do 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes of season 1.
Yeah.
And when I started working, the show hadn't aired yet.
Mm-hmm.
So all I saw was the pilot. And I thought it was really interesting that it was a medical drama that was dealing with, medical malpractice, hospital mess ups and hospital cover ups. I thought that was pretty dope. But in terms of, my audition, all I had was like 3 scenes to work with. So I didn't necessarily know the impact of what the show was going to be. What I dug was here's a doctor who is arrogant, brash, doesn't care what anyone thinks about him. And the arrogance was not coming from overcompensating, but came from, here's a man who has busted his ass and is one of the best cardiothoracic surgeons in the country. And he's worked hard for that. And he's confident because of that.
Come take a look at this. This was the scan from my mother's diagnosis when she was stage 4 with pleural mets. And this is today. Her lung cancer is highly aggressive.
So sorry. Has she started chemo?
She watched her father die of cancer. She remembers vomiting and constant nausea. He was in pain for months until he died. She is terrified of chemo.
With Dr. Austin, I was like, oh, wow, I get a chance to play who I won't allow myself to be in real life.
Because in real life, you are the nice guy.
Yeah.
One thing that we have definitely seen you do over the years is direct. And I have to say, God, I'm really about to date myself here, but here goes. My most favorite thing I think that you've done was the Any Heartbreak video for New Edition. And you've done some TV directing too as well, but is more of that on the horizon for you? Is that a space that you would love to play in more?
Yes. And I took a step back from directing because I got to the point where, between the acting and the directing, because my my morals and my sensibilities and my social consciousness are the same in the acting lane and the directing lane. The political battles that I was having, the integrity battles that I was having them in both careers, and at a point where I realized it's too much. If I put all of my eggs in both of these baskets, this industry is going to break my heart. And during that time, I found spoken word as an outlet. I became a bass player. Now the spoken word and the music really allowed me a space to express myself in a way that I can't necessarily do as an actor or as a director. So the music really took over that directing space for a while. And I would direct here and there, but I wasn't as in pursuit of it as I had been for a while.
Absolutely. Are you interested in doing more in the music space too, or is that now become not necessarily a professional pursuit, but instead just like a way to to unwind from the day-to-day of the gig?
Well, it was never intended to be a professional pursuit. It had always just kind of been, at the time I was doing Malcolm and Eddie, and I was like, I'm the only person caring about this show in the way that I'm caring about it. So I need a hobby, like I need something that has nothing to do with acting, nothing to do with directing, because they both were hobbies that became careers. So I was like, well, if I pick up an instrument, I'm never going to be one of those corny actors trying to do music. I'm never going to record a CD. I'm never going to record a band, do a band. It'll never be a professional endeavor. And then, of course, it turned out to be something that became a career in itself. And because it's still such a part of who I am and my expression, the music and the poetry is not going anywhere. It's still a big part of what I do. it's easier spending, a huge part of my time doing music and not making money when I was single and have no kid. But now, when baby need new shoes, I gotta look at how I spend my time a little bit more judiciously.
Absolutely. Well, I can say on behalf of all of your fans, I'm sure we're glad that acting is the thing that you also are sticking with, and that is so important. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, thank you so much
Hey,
for
thank
taking
you.
time out to chat with me today. This was great.
This was cool. I love it.